What is going on, everyone? Happy Friday. Today, I wanted to talk about how to get your prospects to tell you how to sell them. So this is something that's important for marketers and for salespeople, because it's super easy to go out there and assume that we know what our prospects want, the products they want, and the reasons why they want it. And that's really the more important piece, is not just the products or services that they want, but the reasons that they want it. And one thing that's super interesting is that everyone does not buy a product for the same reason, even the same product. But one way that we can go about finding out what they want is by asking them. So if you have a product or service that you're selling, a great way to figure out exactly why people might want to buy it is asking past customers why they bought it. Exactly what problem were they trying to solve? Doing a customer survey, sending out a survey to your email list, putting and posting a survey in a Facebook group. And if you don't have a customer list that you can send things to, then a great idea that you can do is just put out a survey, go into a Facebook group that you're a part of that has the type of customers that you may be interested in, and ask the people there, hey, if you have bought this sort of product, or you would buy this sort of product, or you have this sort of problem, why, what sort of solutions are you looking for, and why would you buy one solution versus another? And that right there will help you understand what language to use in your marketing so you can target your ideal customer. What sort of pain points are they having that you can hone into and specifically call out in your marketing, so then when people read it or they hear it, they know that you're talking specifically to them. Oh, they just mentioned my specific problem. They just mentioned the exact thing that I'm struggling with right now, and use the exact language that I use. Like, what words do I use to describe my problem? And that's a great way to connect with your audience. And the same thing happens with the sales call, because a lot of times in a sales call, people tend to get on the call and they start spitting out all these different features and benefits that they think might be important to the customer. But it's like, you really don't know what they care about. Your company could offer 10 different services, and you're going on and on and on about all these different features and all these different benefits that they don't care about at all. And so a great way to find out what they care about is to just give them a really generic, high-level overview of what your company does, and shut up and let them ask questions. And they will ask you specifically what they want to know, so you don't have to waste time telling them things they don't care about. Because the problem with that is, if you're on a sales call and you're going on and on and on about features and benefits that people don't care about, they're just going to start tuning you out. And one, it's like, not only is it so much easier for you to just say, at a generic, very high level, this is what my company does, and be quiet and wait for them to ask you more specific questions. It's easier for you because you don't have to keep, talking about things and hoping you're hitting the right points. But then they start asking you questions, and they tell you exactly what they care about. They tell you what's important to them, and they'll keep asking questions and keep clarifying exactly what's important to them until they get all their questions answered. And then once that happens, one, you can take note of that, so okay, well, these people cared about this. Maybe other customers will care about the same thing, and maybe what I think is important to my customers isn't necessarily what's important to them, isn't the reason that they're actually buying, isn't what they think is actually valuable. And that's the problem with a lot of businesses and even marketers and salespeople, is we make too many assumptions about what customers want, what the reasons for buying are, what sort of benefits they're actually looking for. And really, it's just important to let them tell us, and let them ask the questions, instead of assuming we know what they want and telling them. And I think one of the things that's super important in sales conversations is, I mean, I'm sure everyone's, familiar with the 80-20 rule, right? But this is kind of applies in a very, very different way, in the sense that during a sales conversation, if you're talking to someone and you're trying to sell them, as the salesperson, you should be doing 20% of the talking and allowing the prospect to do 80% of the talking. Meaning you're spending the entire conversation not telling them about your features and services, but you're asking them questions to get them to tell you what they want, to get them to tell you what their goals are, and to give them an opportunity to ask questions by you being silent, by you making statements and then being silent and not going too deep into any details, allowing them to ask the questions that are actually interesting to them. It'll make the conversation more engaging. It'll make them feel empowered. And it will help them get the targeted answers that they want. And then once they are able to go through this whole process, then they'll be in a position where they feel like they're more ready to buy and more adept to find out what your prices are and make a buying decision. So this stuff works both in marketing and in sales, and I hope that people who aren't doing this, if you're already doing it, great. Continue to do it and continue to craft and get tighter in finding out exactly what your customers' pain points are and the language patterns that they use and the way that they describe their problems, so you can specifically use that sort of stuff in your marketing. And if you're already using the strategies in your sales process of giving people kind of a high level overview of what you do and then being quiet and allowing them to ask questions for more details, so you know exactly what matters to them and you don't waste any time telling them things that aren't important to them, then that is it's something, a great thing to do too. Now, I know some people may be thinking, okay, well, what if I have a business or I have a product or service in which does something revolutionary that people aren't aware of? Well, even with that, you can tell them in a very kind of generic way the revolutionary thing that your company does, but the point is just not going into too much detail, because you even with that, you can still give them a high level overview of what's revolutionary about it and allow them to ask the probing questions, because that telling them the revolutionary aspect without going into too much detail or in too much technical stuff will pique their curiosity, and then again allow them to ask the questions that are relevant to them, so they feel like they're actually getting the information that they need to make a buying decision, and you don't have to make those assumptions. So it makes your job easier. It makes the sales conversation go a lot more smoothly, gets the client and prospect exactly what they want, so they'll be more in a position to make a buying decision. I have found this to be really effective, and I really like it. So if you have any suggestions about this, please drop a comment below. If you like what was said, or have some additional stories that you can tell about how this has helped you, please also drop a comment below. And thanks a lot for joining this video, and I will see you on the other side. So cheers and happy marketing.